might have lied to you earlier. I have almost no clue what he's talking about.
Man, this is crazy. This is probably the craziest session I've ever done. I'm at one of the coolest studios in Toronto, and I'm about to track drums to tape. And I'm pretty nervous because I've never done this before. So while Nathan's setting up the kit, I'm gonna go and get schooled on how tape machines work.
The first step is kind of aligning how hot you want to be recording the tape. And that process involves a calibration tape, and then we record the record portion of the machine to that.
This is Steven, one of the engineers here. And before he even started the calibration process, I had to make a lot of decisions, like how hot I wanted to record, which would determine how much tape saturation I would hear. And then what tape speed to use. 30 IPS would be a flatter frequency response with a touch more top end, but I decided to go with 15 to get more of a classic low end bump that tape is known for. Now he did warn me that the noise floor is increased at 15 IPS, but since we weren't recording any quiet instruments here, I wasn't too worried about that. I had it calibrated to hit a little bit hotter than the reference level on the tape so that I could get a taste of the built-in saturation and limiting, but not pushing it to the absolute max. That still wasn't everything. The tape path needed to be cleaned since tiny particles of magnetic material rub off over time, and he adjusted the azimuth, a term I'd never heard before, which basically means making sure the record and playback heads are perfectly straight against the tape and not on an angle and going out of phase. He explained a lot more about the alignment process, but to be honest, I didn't understand much of it, and there's no way I could have done this without a tape machine expert like Steven.
A Weber is a unit of magnetic flux. 1 Weber is a massive amount for a tape machine, so we deal in nanowebers.
So I always thought the term audio engineer was really overkill, but now I kind of see where it comes from. There were a lot of things about tape that I never knew or considered before, like how tracks 1 and 24 at the edge of the tape were susceptible to losing certain frequencies, or the fact that there's a time delay between the record and playback heads, which means you have to monitor the inputs going into tape and can only hear the sound of the tape on playback after the fact. Otherwise, you have latency. And all of this is why in the old days, you would have a producer, an engineer, and a dedicated tape engineer just looking after the machine, sometimes in a completely separate room. I was already starting to see why digital took over so quickly, but I hadn't heard it yet. My goal with miking these drums is to keep everything super simple and super familiar, because I know that when we actually start recording, my brain's gonna be consumed with this whole new tape experience. And so I'm using mics that I've used on like hundreds of drum sessions before, so no surprises, and we're gonna keep things super simple all the way through so that I can not screw up something on this end and just focus on the tape. I had never engineered anything to tape before, but I did record to tape once with the punk band I had in high school. It was the first recording experience I ever had, and it was an all-nighter because that's the only studio time we could get. But I could still remember that tape machine spinning and the engineer slating, song 1, take 2, song 1, take 3. And we were horrible, the recording is horrible, but it was at that moment, at about 15 years old, when I realized I wanted to make records when I grew up. Are you thinking anything different than you would in other sessions, like knowing that you're recording tape?
No, because at the end of the day, like the tape is only the avenue for the sound to go. Yeah, maybe it sounds warmer, it sounds probably maybe better in ways, or maybe it's subjective, but I'm still trying to put the best performance on tape, even if it's in a computer.
I randomly had a conversation on the phone with David Bendith yesterday.
Oh, no way.
And I told him I was gonna do this, and he was like, don't look at the meters at all. He's like, don't worry about how hard you're pushing it, because you want to get the sound. He's like, I used to put tape over the meters so that I wouldn't freak out of the meters, and he's like, just listen to it and just be guided by your ears. And he also said, well, I feel sorry for you because you're gonna be disappointed. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, this is gonna be so much better than digital.
Oh, you're gonna be disappointed ever going back? Yeah.
This is kind of the whole experiment today, right? Is I wanna experience what it sounds like and what the process is like, but also kind of understand, why did everyone move away from it? Because everyone says it's so good, you know, all these comments like you're gonna think it's so much better than digital, but clearly digital won. No one wants to make records to tape anymore. And I mean, an hour into calibrating the machine, you kind of understand that. Like,
convenience.
Clearly convenience wins. So in order to compare the sound of tape
to digital. We are recording to tape and Pro Tools simultaneously, but I'm gonna live totally in analog world here. We're gonna put all the tracks out on the console. I'm gonna mix on the console and try to have a true analog experience. So many things going on. He's setting up the tape machine. We're getting the tracks ready in Pro Tools. Another engineer was patching everything in because we got 2 sides of the board plus Pro Tools. Man, this is crazy. This is probably the craziest session I've ever done. Crashes. Sounds like one of them's a hi-hat.
Yeah, it does.
The right side is wrong, I think.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
the left is also wrong too.
Yeah. So basically everything from here on will be wrong.
Sorry, we just got to repatch some stuff here.
I decided to make good use of the amazing Neve console there and some of the outboard gear, so I committed to EQ on every part of the drums and added some compression as well.
Can we get a pair of 1176s on the room? All right, let's slam some rooms. Yeah.
You really underestimate the impact of the location of the physical hardware. I was essentially never in the sweet spot between speakers when I was dialing EQ or compression, so it takes a bit longer to judge and settle on those decisions.
All right, dude, just play a little more everything for me. I'm committing EQ, compression, everything on the way in. There's no plugins happening at all. How are things looking on your end for tape and stuff?
So we'll want to be on repro. We're armed, we're ready, we're safe, we won't record.
Okay.
To put the machine in record, you want to hit record and play, and then that'll be it.
So record play here, record here.
Tired hearts beat select, keeping up with how we felt all these other nights. Can it just be you? I've been staring up at old stars. Just tell me where you are. I know it's real. You hear the same sounds whispered in my ear, just like all those times I just sat.
Okay, one more thing. I'm just gonna put a compressor on the kick. Can we get just stressor on that too? So if you look at my waveforms here, I have a fair bit of bleed in the toms. That's probably just because I'm boosting top and stuff.
After hours of calibration, miking, and mixing, we got a takedown and it was finally time to hear what the tape sounded like.
Those sound sick. Okay, let's see if anyone can hear the difference yet. Sounds a little squish,
Definitely hear the compression. You definitely hear it on the snare.
Yeah. Can hear it on the kick too. Sounds different for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Transients.
I like it. It's a bit crispy or something.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I hear like the shaving off of that, like
Yeah.
the really high stuff.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I don't know. Do you need that?
So check this out. Look at the wave. This is the snare hit there. That's on the tape. It's starting to get squared off at the top of it versus the digital snare. Look at that. Kind of what I wanted to hear. Well, let's try.
Want to do another take?
Yeah, let's do another take. I mean, I think you were a bit rushed off the top.
Yep.
Then it settled in fine, and then there was something weird at the end. But
Cool.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
just keep it on the
yeah,
on time.
yeah.
I'm so not used to recording to tape that on the second take, I just hit record on Pro Tools and completely
All right, man,
forgot
you ready?
about the tape machine. I didn't even realize it until the take ended, but luckily Steven noticed it as it was happening and jumped in and hit record just in time.
And I didn't even record the tape. I literally just went hit record and just hit record on Pro Tools.
And he didn't even mention it until I said something.
What's that?
I got
You got it? There's a good engineer right there. Why don't we just get one more for good measure, and then I think you'll be good to go. 'Cause 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 man. I think we're good.
To take this experiment even further, I wanted to see what a mix would come out like. So I brought the tracks home and spent some time mixing both the digital and the tape versions, trying my best to get them to sound as good as possible using the same settings.
We're tired, hearts beat select, keeping up with how we felt all these autumn nights. Waking up with tight sheets, chill the same lanes. We're tired.
The difference is subtle, but I gotta admit, I would choose the tape tracks here. There's a little bit more energy and edge, a slightly warmer and fuller sounding mid-range, and the transients are squashed just a bit in a way that imparts more glue and control to the overall sound. So what do I think at the end of all this? Well, it's a pain. I liked what tape did to the sound, but that extra bit of vibe is not worth the cost in time and money. I didn't even mention that a reel of tape will run you up to 500 bucks. But I gained a lot of appreciation for the expertise and the skill set that tape required back in the day, and that much more appreciation for how much easier, faster, and more convenient digital recording is. The most fun part was probably dialing in all the EQ and compression on the way in and committing to those sounds without having to look at a screen. But that's an attitude you can take into digital sessions too, with the added bonus of not having to bend down halfway to the floor to adjust a compressor. All in all, I'm glad I was finally able to experience this and hear it for myself. And even though the tape added a unique flavor that I liked, the extra hassle made it very obvious why digital won, and I'm certainly not going to be jumping to record my next project to tape. I hope you enjoyed following along with this experiment. I'm curious to know whether you guys heard a big difference in the sound of the tape, so let me know in the comments below. And if you want some help on how to mic up and track drums, check out this video here, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see more videos like this.